Musical Talk, the UK independent musical theatre podcast.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Musical Talk. My name's Nick Hudson. I'm sat across from Dom. Hello, Dom.
Hello, Nick Hudson.
How are you?
I'm okay, thank you.
Good. We were racking our brains trying to find out something to talk about for this week's episode, and Dom got looking in my library, didn't you, Dom? And
I did, yes.
You came across all these lovely books.
Yes, have you ever opened them?
I have opened them.
Yeah.
You had to crack the spine quite hard, but tell us what you're llooking at right now.
I'm looking at more Broadway musicals by Martin Gottfried.
More other books are available.
Yes, there's one. The first one. This is the continuation. This is the second volume. So I was going to flick through here and actually pick a show, and see whether you've
heard of it.
Actually, I should pick the other book really, because I think these are all a bit modern.
You wouldn't get very far, I don't think.
Well, if you've heard about it. So.
What did you see in the other book that kind of you'd forgotten about?
There's some wonderful pictures of On the 20th Century.
Yes.
Of the set and the production, the original production of that, which is a great show. Do you know it?
I know you talked about it before.
Yes.
And it's a Cy Coleman.
It's a Cy Coleman.
Which is always a good start when it comes to composers.
Betty Comden, Adolph Green. And it's a musical farce. I think it's one of the only times that a musical farce really does work.
Tell us how the show starts, because that's...
Do you know what it's based on? Do you know?
A train.
Well, it is. It's based on, I believe...
The 20th century, I believe.
Well, the 20th century, it was a play. And then it was made into a film with Carole Lombard and John Barrymore. And it is
about... Michael Barrymore, that's all that...
It's not Michael Barrymore. It's about a theatrical impresario called Oscar Jaffe, who is trying to woo back his love of his life and the girl that he discovered from nothing when she was a piano player called Mildred Plotka, and he changed her name to Lily Garland.
I'm not surprised.
I do remember reading that when Cy Coleman was first approached about it, he had misgivings because it wasn't really his sort of thing, but once he started it, he completely embraced it. The overture is very clever. It actually had, in the original production, they had steam shooting out of the orchestra pit. And
of course, people think that was an accident nowadays.
Well, yes. And in recent productions, I've been aware that the orchestra actually make the steam sounds themselves. So it starts off, and the orchestra will go shh at certain points, and it's a fabulous overture. The show starts with a play of Joan of Arc, and I remember the opening line is a priest rushing on and going, "Stop! The burning of the witch must not take place. If heretic be she, then heretic be we. Be we, he, or she," and other things. And it's an awful play, and then from that point on, it just speeds up. Now, there's different versions of the show, which and so they have different beginnings. But I do like the original beginning. It was recently done with Christian Chenoweth, of course, on Broadway. And I wish I'd been able to see it.
But it's famous for having a set piece, isn't
it? The original production had this amazing set pieces of these trains, of the train, the 20th century, which is beautiful silver Art Deco train. And it had carriages which would come out and then open. There's a big chase number called She's a Nut, which is very, very funny. And the character who they're all chasing, at certain points you suddenly see the front of the train hurtling towards the audience, and she's like on the front of the train, kind of being manic, and then it turns around and it's the back of the train going away from you, and she's at the back waving flags.
Sounds very clever.
Yes, it was done over here with Julia Mackenzie,
of course,
and
who else?
Playing Lily Garland, and I have heard a recording of that, which allegedly exists.
Should you have heard a recording of it?
Maybe not. And Keith Michelle was in it. He played Oscar Jaffe, and on Broadway, of course, it was Madeline Kahn was the original Lily Garland, and John Cullum was Oscar Jaffe, and she was dropped or she was pulled out, or for some reason she was replaced by.
While Dom was trying to work out his facts, before we started, we were trying to think of musicals set in or that use theme parks or carnivals or fun fairs as a location. There's nothing online about it, so we couldn't go down that avenue.
Because there aren't any.
We came up with about 3.5.
Judy Kay.
Okay, but I'm still talking about this. As we go through the episode, we'll dip in and out of musicals set in theme parks.
Well, yes, we can have a look at that in a moment.
Judy Kay, yes.
I'd left that nice pause so we could actually just do it effortlessly,
Okay.
and now you've put in that whole section
Put in
so
a
it doesn't
long pause.
sound like I'm really stupid and I can't remember someone who has become a Broadway legend. It started the career of Judy Kay, who took over from Madeline Kahn, and she took over as Lily Garland and became a big star from it. On the cast recording, it is Madeline Kahn.
Okay.
That's very interesting. I heard a story, I don't know how true this is. I did hear a story that apparently Madeline Kahn got bored one evening and sat on the side of the front of the stage asking the audience to discuss her character. But I don't know how true that is.
I hope it's true, because that's fabulous.
Yes, well, yes. So anyway, on the 20th century, I don't know why we started at that, but
Because it's in the book, wasn't it? And it was
yes.
pointed out to you. And
Yes.
I have to say, the sets look gorgeous.
It's a wonderful, wonderful score.
I have a feeling if it were brought back nowadays, so you said it was on Broadway recently, it would all be projections.
There's no reason. I mean, it's actually the weird thing about it is that it's actually quite a small show in the sense of it's a big show, numbers wise and everything like that. But it doesn't need to have all these huge sets.
I look forward to the Finborough refurbishment.
They did it at the Bridewell a few years ago. I mean, it can be done in. It's just it has a big cast and a big chorus to do it effectively, but it doesn't, because it's all taking place on a train. There's actually only three train settings. So there's the theatre at the beginning. There's
which is easy to do.
The station, and then there's kind of few past moments when they're remembering. There is a number in it called Babette, which is a kind of fantasy sequence. Now, in the original and in other productions, they've just had these characters come on who do this big dance number. In the recent revival, they actually created the full set of this fantasy sequence. I don't think it needs that. I think it's better if it's, because it's all happening in Lily's head, I think it's better that if it's just the characters.
Don't reveal the ending.
Well, I think you might be the only person in the world of musical theatre who doesn't.
Well, you'd be surprised.
Yes, no, I'm sure.
Now we're in the 21st century.
The 21st century, yes.
Well, it sounds better than Starlight Express, I'll give it that. I wanted to talk to you about projections, speaking of projections.
Okay, yes.
What's the first show you remember using projections?
That I saw?
Yes. Because people will be shocked if you haven't heard Thos talk about it, but Rodgers and Hammerstein's Allegro actually used projections.
Yes, apparently, yes.
All those years ago on a sort of curved curtain that slid across the set.
The first show that I saw with projections was actually The Woman in White.
Okay.
So it wasn't that long ago.
There's a famous bit involving a train. I think there might be a theme in this episode.
Yeah, there was the train. I don't really remember a great deal. I remember Michael Crawford doing that song with the rat, because that was the one song that kind of stuck in my head. I thought was quite fun.
Now, you're a mystery fan.
I am.
And
Yes,
Woman
I'm
in
sure
White is famous for being one of the first mysteries.
Yes, I do have to admit it's not one of my favourite mystery stories. I find it a bit dry. However, I've heard that the recent TV adaptation was very good, so but I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know.
Last week we talked about Biograph Girl.
Yes.
With Thos. Now, you got very excited when I told you that show was coming on. Didn't
Yes,
you?
I did. Yes, I like Haneker as well. I haven't seen it, but I think it's a very interesting little score.
Because Robert said it's just Mac and Mabel light, really.
But it's
It does everything Mac and Mabel did, but not as well.
Yeah. I hate to agree with him, but yeah, kind of. I see where he's coming from. I do see where he's coming from. Yes.
I do want to break this wonderful, fluid conversation we're having to give special thanks to Tonya, who has single-handedly revamped the entire Musical Talk website, which you can...
Bravo.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you can visit, of course, at musicaltalk.co.uk. We've got some playlists up there. We have the Musical Talk Time Machine. We have lovely new shiny biographies and photographs. Of course, all the episodes are still up there for you to go back into time and listen to, should you wish to hear us talk about Lord of the Rings back in 2008. We're gonna revive a little. It's not a game. It's
a device that you go to when you haven't got an idea for an episode.
It's a random musical generator, we call it, where to my right I have a massive library of theatre programmes and brochures, and I pick 3 at random, and we talk about the shows.
Okay.
So I'm going to pick 3 at random now, and I'll hand to Dom and see if his face drops or lights up or not.
Yes.
So I've handed Dom 4 items of shows that we're going to discuss. You've made some interesting noises as I handed it to you.
Well, one I know very, very well.
Yes.
One I know obscurely. One I know, and one I do know, but I've never seen. This is Crazy for You, which is currently doing the rounds. It's just about to end, isn't it? Because it's currently doing the rounds, or it's been touring for quite a long time.
Yes, I think Tonya went to see it up north.
Yes, it's an actor
musician
production. It was in Brighton last week,
right?
Because the Brighton Festival was on last week. I didn't see it though. I didn't get a chance to see it. So. But I think it's been quite a successful tour. This is the smash hit Gershwin musical, which is
It's another new Gershwin musical. He's still writing them from the grave.
Well, it's
Girl Crazy, isn't it?
It's a remake of Girl Crazy, which I have actually done. I did Girl Crazy, the original, not the original production, obviously, on Broadway. I'm not that old. But I've done the original book years ago when I was about 19. It is a terrible book. I mean, the music is wonderful. The book is awful.
There's a book by Ira Gershwin as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's
was it one of their earlier shows?
Yeah, I think so. It made a star out of Ethel Merman.
One thing I loved about this show specifically, I had no idea what it was, but it was so funny.
Right.
And I was surprised at how funny it was. I went to see it with Jonathan Cohen.
Yeah.
And
the book is by Ken Ludwig, who
yes.
is great comedy writer. I mean, he writes farces and.
I couldn't tell you what it was about, but I remember it was about cowboys and stuff. And
yes, I think it's it's very weird because let me just have a look and see.
This is the open air Regent's Park theatre production.
Oh, is it? Oh, right, okay.
Which I saw in town.
Yes.
I think nowadays it would annoy me because it's like An American in Paris did. It's just another Gershwin show. And I think
just another Gershwin show.
It's another new Gershwin show. So
well, the problem with a lot of the Gershwin shows, and I mean this really is an area that Thos is
better at than we
are. But the problem is the books are creaky. The original books are creaky, and they do have some very strange numbers. I'm just looking through the musical numbers here to see what. So Crazy for You, that's not in Girl Crazy. I Can't Be Bothered Now, that's not in Girl Crazy. Biden My Life. So the things that are in Girl Crazy are Biden My Time, Could You Use Me, Embraceable You, I Got Rhythm, Naughty Baby, But Not For Me, and there's other songs in it
so it's kind of like a mixture.
Land of the Gay Caballeros. They have a very strange number called Bronco Busters. The only way I think we got away with it was that we did it. It was all like a cartoon, so it was done like a cartoon strip. So even in I Got Rhythm, we had tap dancing cactus on stage. The girls were in cactus costumes, which was quite funny because someone designed it as a joke, and then the director went, "Oh, I like that," so we did it.
So it's not an entirely jukebox musical cashing in on Gershwin, like Nice Work If You Can Get It was, I believe.
Well, it's only a jukebox in the way that they take a lot
American in Paris.
Yes, I mean their own. I mean, yeah, they're jukebox musicals because they use the.
You've got to have I Got Rhythm in there. That has to make an appearance.
Yeah, they use the songs of Gershwin, and they've used the basis of the story. So they've got the same characters. It's just slightly different.
But I loved it. It was so funny and brilliantly danced. Choreography was by Susan Stroman, who's wonderful, who's done Young Frankenstein and producers.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really entertaining show. I'm sure you can find Jonathan and my review of it on our new website, beautifully designed by Tanya.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I made a slight error. One of the programs I picked out wasn't a musical.
It's not a musical, but we should talk about it anyway.
But it's such a West End stalwart, isn't it?
Well, it is now, yes. This is...
We talked about The Woman in White. Now
Yes.
let's talk about the piece that was influenced by The Woman in White.
Well... Oh, yes. I
The
suppose.
Woman in Black.
The Woman in Black. I wouldn't say it was influenced by the Woman in White.
Oh, she has. She said it's a complete...
Well, Susan Strand.
Yeah.
Susan
Susan
Hill.
Strand.
Sorry, Susan Hill.
On the Strand. No, she said it's a direct homage to The Woman in White.
Oh,
And
okay.
people think it's a Victorian novel, but it's not. It's a reference to the Wilkie Collins Woman in White.
Okay.
It's the Woman
I
in
didn't.
Black.
I actually didn't know that. I thought it was more of a homage to the ghost stories of M.R. James, and
The title might be.
I wanted to say that crowd then, which is weird because I'm a huge fan of M.R. James and the ghost story writers.
Who's Mr. James?
M.R. James.
Mr. James.
He's not Mr. James.
Well, he is, technically.
Well, he is. Yes.
This is how most of our conversations go. I never heard of anything, and Dom then tells me.
Okay. Montague Rhodes James was a schoolmaster, and he wrote these amazing ghost stories, and they are the epitome of the English Victorian ghost story, and they were made famously into ghost stories and for Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm. Hence why Woman in White opens with "It was 9:30 on Christmas Eve."
Well, yes, it has got that. It has that thing. Now, I when I was at drama school 100 years ago, I was working at the Fortune Theatre when The Woman in Black arrived. So I worked with
still there.
And she's still there. Yes, I'm not.
Do you believe the theatre's haunted? Because there are lots of.
No, I don't believe anywhere is haunted. So sorry, because I know I shall.
It's such a clever play, and it's sort of. I know the word immersive is flung around a lot nowadays,
But it was one of the first immersive.
but this
shows.
is site specific / immersive. You know,
Well, it's
because
set in a theatre.
It's set in a theatre,
Yes.
and it's a really horrible story, isn't it?
Yes, it's a very disturbing story, and it was very cleverly adapted and slightly changed by Stephen Mallatrat. And we, as ushers, we used to actually creep in. They probably still do. We used to creep into the stalls in the second half for the big scare and watch the audience jump, and it was very funny.
Of course, it has lots of audience, not interaction, but actors entering through the auditorium, we shall say. I was wondering how that works in behind the scenes, because I imagine all the ushers have to sort of stand aside from the actors.
Oh God, no! We were in the bar gossiping with the characters.
The Woman in Black.
We were gossiping, yeah. So before she's going on, we're kind of like going, oh
And
yeah, what's that happening over there?
She gets a weird credit in the programme, doesn't she?
Yes, but don't, because people might listen to
I know.
this.
People might listen to it, yes, I hope so. If you haven't seen The Woman in Black, I don't know where you've been for the last... It's the second longest running play in the world, isn't it? Or something...
Yes, I think after the Mousetrap, isn't
Yes.
it? So, yes.
And it's toured all over the world. Would it work as a musical, though? This is the age-old question.
It's a difficult one, because the thing is that because of it being a two-hander, I think it's...
But the actual grand, if you were to take... Because we had the film with Daniel Radcliffe, and we've had...
And the TV version,
Yeah.
which is actually better than the Daniel Radcliffe film, even though I think Daniel Radcliffe's an amazing actor, and it was quite fun. I think the original TV film of it was
Which is available
very,
on
very good.
YouTube.
It is available on YouTube. Okay, I didn't know if it had been taken off.
Before we started, Dom and I were talking about musicals set in theme parks or amusement parks or carnivals or fun fairs.
Yes.
And we came up with about 3. The ones we came up with were Ragtime, because it's sort of that there's a moment in Atlantic City. You mentioned one which I'd never heard of.
I Had a Ball.
I Had a Ball.
I Had a Ball was written as a vehicle for the comedian Buddy Hackett. Do you know Buddy Hackett?
No.
Have you seen the film Scrooged?
Yes.
He plays Scrooge in it. He's playing himself. He's playing Buddy Hackett.
Right,
He's playing Scrooge in it. And it was written by Jerome Chodoroff, and the music and lyrics by Jack Lawrence and Stan Freeman. It's an interesting little show. This is 1964, and it's set on Coney Island, and it's about a fortune teller on Coney Island who has a magic ball, a crystal ball. The crystal ball, suddenly he realises it actually does tell the future, and it lights up whenever at certain moments. And he decides that he's going to try and matchmake 2 couples, and I think he makes a bit of a mistake, and it goes wrong. It's quite a fun score, actually, and it was certainly about the carnies, the people who worked in Coney Island. You can still get the cast recording. There's a couple of Richard Kiley was in it, and Karen Morrow, and there are some really, really fun little numbers and songs in it.
Obviously, set in Coney Island.
Yes, which is where a lot of these musicals.
Yeah.
If you're going to go theme park, you end up having Coney Island. Meaning the next one, of course, is Love Never Dies, which is set on Coney Island.
The program, the third program I gave Dom.
Indeed, yes.
You weren't in the country when this was.
No,
were you?
No,
it has
but
gone to Australia.
It did go to Australia. I was in Mexico at the time, but it was shown. The filmed version.
Yes.
Was shown at the local VIP cinema in Mexico City, which was very nice.
And a couple of weeks ago, we had Michael Gordon Shapiro on talking about Love Never Dies.
Yes.
It just won't die on this show. We just keep bringing it back every couple of years because Michael said in his review that I didn't like it. I saw it 4 or 5 times.
You saw it 4 or 5 times. Who didn't like it? Michael.
Michael said in his review he thought I didn't like it.
Okay.
But I did like it. I've seen Phantom once in my life, and I've seen this show 4 or 5 times.
So what was it about this show that
It's got a theme park in it.
Like it must have.
No,
it must have had something more to it than that.
I liked the Americana of it, and I liked the music in it for Lloyd Webber, and I liked the freak showness it had in it. It just was more appealing to me as a style of production.
Okay.
And it was a good mystery. I did like the songs. I think Till I Hear You Sing is a very nice song. Not a big fan of the title song Love Never Dies because it was just stolen from The Apartment. For me,
I liked Devil Take the Hindmost.
Yeah,
that was
they're very good songs. And I remember one of the times I went to see it, I was sitting there with Andrew, and we were singing along in the entr'acte for Act 2, which was quite nice.
They allow you to stay.
So yes, that was Love Never Dies, and we interviewed Sierra Bogga. So it's been a big part of the podcast.
Yes.
The fact that we've always
That's
brought it back. And I will happily sit and listen to some of the music. I think it's very evocative, the music. What was interesting was just weird and bent and that kind of... I think it's something Lloyd Webber does very well, which is this kind of avant-garde, non-traditional musical theatre music. And then he puts a Rodgers and Hammerstein style number in it, which is Love Who You Love.
Right.
Even though it has a grammatical error in it, we'll forgive it. But I like Glenn Slater as a lyricist, so it was a good show. But it opened, then it closed, then they made changes, and they changed the ending, and they changed the beginning, and they made...
I bought the cast recording when it was first...
When one bought cast recordings.
Well, launched... And then I saw it, and I did enjoy it at the cinema.
You mean the demo disc, which was a double album?
Oh, was that a demo disc?
Yeah.
Really?
So they did the album before the show came out.
Oh, it was one of those. It was a concert one.
Yeah.
So yes, I did listen to that, and I bought that, and then...
Did you hate it? Oh.
I didn't dislike it, but I think I probably listened to it once.
Do you know the novel?
No, I don't.
Is it The Phantom of Manhattan?
It's
By
Dick Francis,
Yeah,
who's a famous mystery writer.
not Frederick Forsyth.
Oh, God, yes. Why did I think it was Dick Francis? Sorry. Dick Francis.
Who is Dick Francis?
Dick Francis, he writes murder mysteries that set on race courses.
Oh.
I don't know why I thought that he had anything to do with Love Never Dies. So.
Yes, thumbs up still for Love Never Dies, and it is available to watch. The beautiful Australian production, which is different to the London production, but it's always been a nice part of Musical Talk, and we've had Rami and Karamlu on the show, and Sierra, so it's a show that we're very fond of.
Final one
British
is
classic.
Billy Elliot. Anyway, thank you for joining us this week on Musical Talk. I have never seen Billy Elliot. I've never watched the...
Also has a film version.
Yes, I remember seeing the film years ago, and when I watched the film I thought, oh my god, this would make the most wonderful music.
Yep, musical.
Um,
Elton John thought the same.
I do have to admit, and this is an awful thing, I listened to...
Two songs.
I listened to the cast recording
Yeah.
once, and I thought, I never want to hear that again.
This is a problem with Billy Elliot and Elton John as a composer. The songs aren't great, but he is certainly writing an era he knows, which is 70s and 80s Britain, because that's the time he was writing pop songs. And he does the folk stuff very well. There's a brilliant song that opens Act 2 called Merry Christmas Maggie Thatcher.
Okay.
It's very much like a camp Elton John Christmas single. The star of this show is Stephen Daldry and Lee Hall's book and lyrics, the two of them, and Martin Koch, who has put together the most brilliant extending of Elton John's 90-second songs that he wrote for this show.
Okay.
That is the real skill behind this show. It might not be the best score of all time,
Yeah.
but it's the best, or one of the best staged musicals of,
Yes.
of
Well,
British.
it ran for a long, long
Yeah.
time, didn't it? And it obviously it's been hugely successful around the world.
Did it play in any of the countries you were ever working in?
It never came to Malaysia. I don't think
Went
it
to
was,
Australia,
I
didn't
don't
it?
think it went to Singapore. Usually, the Australian cast tour around Southeast Asia. So, but I wasn't aware of Billy Elliot going to Singapore. But I'm not speaking from any actual knowledge. It may well have done. I don't think it did Mexico City.
It's very moving as a piece.
Yes.
It's Peter Darling's...
I love the story.
Choreography is wonderful.
I think the story is quite amazing. The only thing I've seen staged of Billy Elliot, the only clip I've seen, is the song "Electricity," which I mean I need to watch the whole film, but the whole show, because I sat there going, but there is no element of electricity about that number. There is nothing exciting. There's nothing magical, and I'm sure it's completely different when you actually see it live.
Did you like his dancing though?
I did. I was like, oh, it's a child
Isn't that
dancing.
the point?
But it still didn't feel like I didn't. And like I said, I was watching it cold, so I think maybe if you've seen the rest of the show, maybe it makes more sense because you're actually feeling the emotion.
Yeah,
but I just felt it was. He was singing about the passion that he has in a song that didn't have any passion. It's a weird one. It's like Let It Go. Let It Go as a song to me, and it doesn't. This is a really weird thing to say, and I have mentioned it to a muso friend of mine because I said, "Am I imagining it?" And he said, "No." He kind of knew what I meant. I said, "Let It Go never seems to let it go."
It does now. The ending is really good for the Broadway.
Well, the tune, the tune is different.
Yeah, it's got a massive ending. It's got a big note which the song never had
Oh.
before, but they've taken it down a minor third. You've seen the clip, I presume.
I have seen the clip. Yes,
Yes.
very good. But yes, so I mean, I would be very interested in watching Billy Elliot simply because I
haven't seen it.
I've never seen it, and what I saw and what I heard, I have to say, never appealed to me. I just kind of thought that doesn't. I'm yeah.
Well, we'll go and watch that then, Don, and we can have you on again soon to talk about your first time seeing Billy Elliot.
Yeah, probably not, but I will watch it, and
Okay.
if I've got anything interesting to say. But I mean, it is. I mean, the one thing I would say is that obviously it was an enormous success. I mean, I do realise that
But it's certainly one of those shows where the score, and people say this shouldn't be the point of a musical, it's certainly one of those shows where the score, sadly, was one of the weaker sides.
okay.
But it's very, very well staged and produced.
Okay. So I'm going to flick through here and just going to find something.
Okay. Looked like Rosie Ash, that picture you had up there.
It's Dorothy Loudon.
Looks like Rosie Ash to me.
You heard it on Musical Talk Theatre. Funnily enough, we may as well actually talk about it because this picture that you're saying, it looks like Rosie Ash and it's Dorothy Loudon. This is Annie, of course.
Oh, yes. The pain of my life at the moment.
Yes, well, Annie 2 is actually set on Coney Island
Oh,
at the
yes,
end,
okay,
the
well done.
finale. So there we are. So linking back to Coney Island as well. You've got fairgrounds. So there are musicals where isn't Dreamcoats.
Another one has sprung into my mind. It was the most random.
Can I just say how excited you got there?
I know.
It was like some sort of...
Only because it had Dodgems on stage. I knew there's one I was thinking of, and it was a David Essex musical. A David Essex jukebox musical.
Wasn't that Dreamcoats and Petticoats?
No.
Oh.
But yes, I can't remember the title.
Oh, yes.
But it had All the Fun of the Fair, I think it was called.
Yes, that's actually what I thought Dreamboats and Petticoats was.
Dreamboats and Petticoats was a long-running Ken Wright show.
Which has got nothing to do with Fairgrounds at all.
It might do.
Okay. But I'm thinking of the David Essex one. So.
And it's one that had a motorbike that flew over the audience.
Oh, did it?
It did. It was one of those kind of guilty pleasure
Silver
shows.
Dream Racer.
Uh,
There was a silence there, wasn't there? Yes. Okay.
Possibly.
Yeah, I'm just showing that.
So yes. Annie 2.
Annie 2.
Tell us about Annie 2.
Well, I don't know a great deal about Annie 2, but the very first... it was rewritten several times, but one of the versions of it actually had Annie locked in a trunk, and everybody's taken to Coney Island, and Annie is replaced by Miss Hannigan. She's replaced by an imposter Annie, who's going to...
Hannigan.
Yes, Hannigan.
Was this Charlie Strauss as well? Or had
Yes,
he...
it was Charles Strauss, yes.
We will one day do an episode about sequels and then do another one. But it's one of the... There was a third one as well, wasn't there? That was just a film. Is it Miss Hannigan's Revenge or something?
No, Miss Hannigan's Revenge is actually Annie 2.
Okay.
And then there was Annie Warbucks. There is also a film called Annie 2 with Joan Collins. And
Right.
but I think it only uses it Tomorrow. I don't think it actually has.
Unlike the film musical, which doesn't use Tomorrow.
So, does?
It has it in the credits, and that's it. The director hated it so much as a song.
Well, the original
Yeah,
film.
he didn't include
No,
it.
yes, it is. It's completely there. It's when they go to the White House. Well, the problem, the biggest problem with Annie, and I don't know whether you're finding this now, is that people think it's far more twee than it actually is. It's actually quite. It's a really good show, and
And
but
I
people
have
do think
I
that
have
it's-
gripes with people say, "Oh, Annie." I said, "Well, they're good songs."
well, you say, what do you know about it? And they go,
Yeah.
oh, it's tomorrow. So
Yeah.
they.
And it's
I
just
think
that
we've
girl-
talked about this before.
It's just that girl screeching at you for 3.5 hours
Yes.
and saying "old G" and things. Well, we'd like to
Careful,
thank you,
Hudson.
Herbert Hoover, is one of the funniest songs.
Yes, and been cut out of all the filmed versions.
Yeah, and
I was quite surprised at how much I liked the recent film version, and I didn't expect to like it.
and this
at
was
all.
the
the
kind
recent
of
one.
rappy hip hop one, wasn't
Yes.
it? Tell us
Yes.
about that.
Well, I can't tell you more than that. I watched it one afternoon and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I didn't think I was going to at all, and I watched it and I went, this is great. I loved it. It was just, I mean, I think some of the songs were dumbed down a bit, which is a bit of a shame.
Is We Like to Thank You Herbert Hoover in it?
No, but and a lot of the other songs aren't really in it. But, however, there was still a tremendous amount to enjoy. So,
I think the problem with the show nowadays is that it suffers from we have to have someone very, 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 very over the top play Miss Hannigan. And I know she's a very over the top character, but you might suffer from people that shouldn't be playing Miss Hannigan who end up playing Miss Hannigan.
Okay.
Well,
I thought. I'm thinking of Cameron Diaz, who I thought was quite not over the top.
No,
you're talking about the stage
I'm
version.
talking about the stage version.
There's a tendency to do that. Now, Dorothy Loudon, of course, was the most amazing comedian. So, she kind of, and by all accounts, she was just incredible as the character.
Did Carol Burnett do it on stage originally, or was it just the film?
No, it was Dorothy Loudon.
But she was annoyed.
Well, Dorothy Loudon was a big Broadway star. It was just one of those things that happens. I mean,
I love Annie. I'm very happy to sit and listen to the songs. We talked about it with Floss and how it is an overlooked, underappreciated show.
Yes.
And yeah, so that brings us back to Coney Island, Dom. If you know of any other musicals set with theme parks on them, do please get in touch.
Or
with
fairgrounds.
Or fairgrounds, or anything involving things on swings.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of plenty of things where there was
State
swings.
fair and...
Well, I mean, state fair in the sense it was a county fair, wasn't
Yeah.
it? So, and then I have carousel, of course. I mean, there's the
I was
one of the
leaving
biggest
out because
ones,
it's
really.
obvious.
Oh yes, right, yes, of course you were. So I've got 3 pictures here. I'm going to ask you whether you've ever heard of any of these.
Okay, no.
Do I Hear a Waltz?
No, it's Sondheim
and Rogers.
And Rogers.
So, well, these are all 3 Richard Rogers musicals. Do I Hear a Waltz is based on a movie called Summertime. Well, it's actually, I think it was a play called The Time of the Cuckoo, and there's a film version with Katharine Hepburn called Summertime, which is in colour, so you could watch it. And
for those who are not in the room, I'm giving Don the middle finger right now.
it's a. I mean, I love the score. Apparently, Sondheim has said that he did think it was wrong because the problem is the main character shouldn't sing because she doesn't have a voice to sing. So the other one was here is 2x2.
Nope.
Danny Kaye vehicle.
Is it the Noah's Ark
yes,
musical? I was joking. But
it is
okay.
about Noah's Ark. It has some great songs in it. And Madeline Kahn again was in it. There's some beautiful, beautiful numbers in it. Some very, very funny songs as well. And very touching songs. I've heard that he did get carried away and started doing shtick. So later in the run, the discipline wasn't there. And so he was
like
just
this.
going to do
The Rogers version was as Jewish as apple pie.
Oh, well, it's the original play is retold the Old Testament story of Noah in Yiddish terms.
Well,
so it means that
do you know the Benjamin Britten does an opera about Noah's Ark called Noah's Flood?
Noah's Flood. Yes, there's a musical talk podcast about it.
Okay,
with Tim and Thos chatting about it.
And when I was young, I think we all did the cantatas based around Noah's Ark.
I did the Flanders and Swan one.
So I think there's a whole episode about Flanders and Swan somewhere in you.
Yes.
What's this third picture then?
No Strings. Do you know that?
Nope.
It was written as a vehicle, I believe, for Diane Carroll, because they wanted to write a musical which would have a strong female black lead.
And this is Rogers and...
This is Richard Rogers.
How many shows did he write?
Well, no, it's not Rogers and Hammerstein.
I know, but...
Rogers wrote a lot of shows. I mean, he did write a lot of shows. I like a lot of the shows that Rogers wrote on his own or with other people. Even
because he did lyrics as well, didn't he?
Yes. I mean, No Strings is very old because it doesn't have any strings. There's no string section. So and it's about an interracial couple,
right.
And Richard Kiley was in it as well. It has got some great numbers. Then he also did I Remember Mama, which was a huge flop, which was is based on the film I Remember Mama, and the books, and was Liv Ullmann. Have you heard of Liv Ullmann?
There's a theme here, Dom. No,
Well, I didn't want to assume there.
Assume away.
So, well, Liv
So
Ullmann
what happens
was
when you assume?
She was a film
You're
star.
correct.
She was in the musical version of Lost Horizon, which you might actually like. Actually, that would be very interesting. Lost Horizon is based on Lost Horizon, and
I'm
it's
thinking of Event Horizon for some reason.
no, it's not Event Horizon the musical. That would be a little bit. I've torn out my eyes. And no, Lost Horizon is a group of travellers who get lost in the Himalayas, and they come across Shangri-La, the famous
60s girl group.
No, Shangri-La is paradise,
Okay.
and nobody ages, and then
Sounds like Chiswick.
Shangri-La and Chiswick separated at birth, and then what happens is that
Because in Frasier, sorry to segue, when Niles is divorced from Maris,
Yeah.
he stays at the Shangri-La.
oh, I
which
see.
Is this
Okay,
kind of ironic,
nasty motel.
horrible
Okay, yes, I can get that.
condo suite.
Yes.
So I never.
Well, Shangri-La is... Well, I don't have it with me. We could have watched Lost Horizon. It's a bit
Right.
long.
We're going to watch Billy Elliot,
Oh.
which is also a bit long, but it's something fun to do.
Yes, but
Um,
Lost Horizon might be quite an interesting one to do. Maybe I'll do that with... Maybe I can try and clobber Foss and sit down and we'll watch it and we'll talk about it. Liv Ullmann was in the musical of Lost Horizon, the film.
Okay.
Then she did I Remember Mama on Broadway. Bette Midler is fabled for saying, when they said, "Are you going to see I Remember Mama?" she's fabled for saying, "I never miss a Liv Ullmann musical."
I hope this episode of reading things from books and programs has been
This has
fun.
been...
I've certainly enjoyed it, Dom. And
Well, it has been fun. I don't
Yes.
know whether the listening public will have found it fun.
thank you for listening. If indeed you still are, you can visit our brand new website. Thank you very much again, Antonia. Your efforts are much appreciated. And
Can people write in and give us episodes to podcast about?
episodes to podcast.
Well, then give- then
Are
they
we going to
give
get meta? We're going to start doing
Oh,
episodes about our episodes.
No, well, okay, yes, no.
If you want to tweet us or write to us on Facebook or review us on iTunes and tell us what musicals you'd like us to talk about, which I think is what Dom meant, feel free to do that.
subject matters.
Yes, or subject matters, or deep concerns you're having with your life at the moment. I'm sure we can delve into those.
We could have a musical talk problem page.
Yes. But Dom, thank you very much for joining
Thank you.
us.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, and we'll have you on again soon.
Thank you.
I hope.
Bye.
Bye! For more information about Musical Talk, please visit our website at musicaltalk.co.uk. You can email us at feedback@musicaltalk.co.uk, listen to past episodes on iTunes and YouTube, and follow our social media channels on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.